Hi everyone, it's Vacha here from recordingstudio9.com and thanks for joining me again. This is a follow-up video on part of a series of videos that I'm recording. It's called Project Unplugged, where we are using the PreSonus Studio One version 3 Prime, the free DAW, to record a song. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, you can certainly click around here somewhere and you'll be able to go back to the first video of this series. There is a playlist, so you can follow from the start to see where we are at. And this is a continuation of that series. Project Unplugged Slow basically started as demonstration of PreSonus Studio One version 3 Prime. Then it got extended into a project where I invited anybody who's interested to use Studio One Prime to record music, and all of the demonstrations that I do using Studio One Prime, all the resources is also available on my website on recordingstudio9.com. So you can visit my website, register and log in as a user, and you'll be able to download all of the project files, everything that's been recorded so far, and you'll be able to follow on to all of the instructions that I provide, and then you'll be able to add your own experience, your own tips and ideas to modify, rearrange, and however you like the recording, or even add new soundtracks to it if you like. So head out to recordingstudio9.com and register as a user. It's all free and everything is available for free as well. So in this video, I have gone ahead and recorded the drum tracks. We had pretty much all of the other instruments recorded: the bass, the guitar, the pianos, strings, and all the other instrument parts of the song. The only thing was missing the drums, and I left the drums to the last because for a special reason, because it needed a bit more instruction, it needed a bit more attention than all of the other instruments. Now, most of the instrumentation is coming from my KORG PA3x musical arranger keyboard. Most of those instruments, whether if it's the bass guitar or the pianos and things like that, they're either mono or stereo tracks, so it was quite easy to record and explain how we can manipulate the inputs and record it to get the best out of the limitations that we have in Studio One Prime. But for drums, it's a little bit more extended, so it needed a lot more tracks. I just didn't want to record the drums as a stereo track like the rest of the instruments. I like to have a little bit more control on the drum, especially the kick drum and the snares, the hi-hats, the toms, and few other special effect drums and percussions. I like them separately so that I have full control of how I would like to arrange it. And at the same time, it will give anybody else who's using my recording medium and want to rearrange it, then you can readjust the snares or completely remove it, or replace the snares or any of the other instruments. It'd be much easier. So if you didn't like the kick drum, you most likely be able to exchange it to another kick drum, maybe a loop kick drum. So that's one of the reasons why I would try to separate them. So we're gonna go now and have a look on screen what tracks I have recorded for the drum set and give explanation of each one and how we can actually manipulate each one of those drum tracks to have a different arrangement, different sounds, and come up with something that I like or maybe you like. So let's go to the screen. So here we are looking at all of the tracks. Just let me remove that. So I have gone ahead and recorded the rest of the tracks. So if you can see, we've already have our stereo mix. It's there, so you know what the original arrangement from the KORG PA3x sounded like. And then we recorded the bass instrument and all the other instruments in there. And lately I have added all of the drum tracks, and that got separated into the kick drum, the snare, the toms, the hi-hats, the cymbals, percussion and brushes. So let's have a quick listen of the complete arrangement and see what it sounds like with no obviously any mixing done yet, because none of these faders are adjusted to the right volumes, because I'm gonna leave that up to you to adjust and play around with. But having said that, the gain staging I've done it quite well. So even if you have the faders pretty much at 0 dB, you'll get reasonably good mix down. And again, that's part of the first stages of recording, making sure that you get everything right at the first go, so you don't have to fix it in the mix. So let's go ahead and have a quick listen what it actually sounds like. So it's a very nice mellow music. Obviously it needs a lot of mixing and adjustments. Now, none of the tracks have any effects added to them. Again, I'm gonna leave that up to you and in follow-up videos, so we can go through each one and be able to apply effects, and you can do your own effects later on as well. And all of the tracks have been recorded raw, so they have not had any effects added to them. And I think the kick drum starts about here. Let's solo that one out and have a quick listen what it sounds like raw. So let's have a listen to the rest of the instruments very quickly and see what they actually sound like. As you can hear, they are dry. There's no effects or anything on them. So we have the snare. These are the toms. So it's pretty nice and clear toms. Then we've got the hi-hats. Then we've got cymbals. Then we've got some percussions. And we also have, I added some brushes. So let's have a listen to the complete drum set. As you can see, I have not really adjusted any volumes of any of the faders at this stage. So let's have a quick listen again. Apart from the toms and the percussions, everything else is in mono. So let's put that into a loop so we can give some stereo thing. So the kick probably stay in the middle. The snare we might just, toms can be in the middle because it's stereo. Hi-hats can a little bit this way, and the cymbals we might just sort of on the other side, and the brush could be just about there. So that's giving a little bit of dimension to the drum, adjusting it the way the drummer would actually see it. So you can adjust it the other way around, left to right, to the listener's perspective, but usually you can also adjust it the way the drummer will hear it. Okay, I'm just going to do a very simple effect for the kick drum to see what we can do. You can either add it from here, PreSonus, and we add the strip channel from there, or you can also click on the browse and drag the strip channel there, and that's get added in. So let's try to, while it's playing back, add some effects. Probably the first thing we need to do, depending on the type of the effect that you want, whether you want medium dynamic speed or fast, and whether you want sort of really sharp transients or smooth ones. So let's add some compression. So we're doing about -4, -6 dB of compression there. This is a fast one. It's going to increase the volume so we can hear it better. That's a slow one. So it's allowing a lot more in before it starts compressing. Yeah, I think I prefer the fast transient, so let's give it a little bit of boost there. We've actually, before I do any boost, I probably want to use the middle one and find out the point where about there. So I normally would reduce that a little bit and then we'll increase it. Yeah, that sounds about much punchier. Let's compare it. That's without it. That's with it. And then you can play around with this to your heart's content. Okay, so you can play around with the rest of the tracks to your heart's content. Let's assume that we have done all of the EQ and compression for each of the tracks of the drum set that we wanted to do. And let's assume that we have adjusted all of the faders to the volumes that we like, and the drum set by itself is the mixing has been done. If we later on need to go in and change the volume of the drums because the drums were louder or not as loud as the rest of the instrumentation, you really don't want to go and adjust each track's level or the faders up and down. The best way to do it is to group them into a subgroup or auxiliary channel. Now, auxiliary channels or auxiliary tracks are not available in PreSonus Studio One Prime, but there is a way to do it. Now, one way is you can click here and select all of the tracks, and as you adjust the volumes, they all adjust accordingly. But then again, that still doesn't work out as good as you should be able to do it. Still time consuming. So here is a better way. Let's right click here and add an effects channel, and then select all of our drum tracks again, and up here where it says main, that means going to the main bus. So instead of going to the main bus, we want to send it to the effects bus. Now the effects bus will actually control the volume of all of the drum set, because they come in, each one of these tracks come into the effects bus, and the effects bus goes to the main bus. So let's see what it sounds like. So now by adjusting just this one track, I am able to adjust the volumes of all the tracks of the drums. Now I've subgrouped them, and now I don't have to touch any of these levels anymore of the faders. I just had to adjust this fader, and I can easily call this drum sub. And of course you can always add another compression for the whole lot if you want to adjust any EQ as well, however we like. And then we can adjust according with respect to the rest of the tracks. So let's have a listen for the complete arrangement with the drums all grouped into a subgroup here. So there we go, we were able to utilize the effects channel to subgroup the drum tracks. So that way we only need one slider to adjust, one fader to adjust our volume with the rest of the things. And we can do the same for all of the other instrumentation. We can group them together, and then we will have all effects or slash subgroup channels next to each other, and then we only need to play around with few sliders rather than a whole bunch of them to while we're doing the mixing. Well, I hope that was helpful. Now you know the reasons why I wanted to separate each part of the drum kit into their own individual tracks. At the same time, did you get my other extra tip? Don't forget, even though PreSonus Studio One version 3 Prime DAW does not support auxiliary buses, but it's not stopping us to use the effects bus as a way to control a series of tracks into a sub track, so that we can control the overall drum volume, or we can even combine other parts of instrumentations into their own sub tracks and be able to control it. At the same time, it's probably a good idea as well to be able to put a compressor on each one of those buses, so that you get a uniform sound of different instruments together before they go onto the master bus. So if this video was helpful for you, give me the thumbs up. That way I know that you liked it. And if you have any comments, you feel free to comment below. As always, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, this is the perfect time to subscribe. That way you're always kept up to date every time I upload a new video, either on this series or any other topic on recording music. And until next time, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great time making music. Bye bye.